Hello and welcome to Sports Weekend on i24 News, live from the Jaffa Port. I'm Mirav Savir. On our show today, we'll talk about the Australian Open crowned champions, the top and flop in football. Protests in Sao Paulo against this summer's World Cup games draw less than expected. And a week before the Super Bowl, we get familiar with the best offense and best defense in the league. And joining us for the show today, i24 News sports analyst Jonathan Regev and Dennis Weibel, and our Twitter extraordinaire Michal Zivon.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mirav. Good to see you.
And we start in the land down under. The champions have been crowned in the Australian Open. Stanislas Wawrinka beat Rafael Nadal in 4 sets earlier today to win his first Grand Slam title. Dennis Weibel takes us through the action from a busy Sunday in Melbourne.
In Melbourne, bad luck continues for Rafael Nadal, who had the chance to win his 14th Grand Slam title, matching American Pete Sampras. After a very intense week of tennis, it wasn't Nadal, but the Swiss Stanislav Wawrinka, who won the Aussie Open. On Sunday, the outcome was the same as 2 years ago when Nadal lost to Djokovic. The world's #1 was mainly unhappy because he couldn't play his best. A back injury overpowered his extraordinary determination. Many observers thought he hurt himself during Sunday's second set, but the Spanish press announced Nadal was already complaining about his back during warm-up, a problem that became more and more present during the game. So important that he almost stopped running in the last exchanges and that his playing almost weakened.
Since the beginning I felt a little bit from the warm-up, but goes a little bit worse during the first set, and at the end of the first set I start to feel worse. And then at the beginning of the second was the key moment that I felt that during the serve, in a bad movement, I felt that it's very stiff, no, very bad, no, but that's not the real moment to talk about that. It's the moment to congratulate.
For 28-year-old Wawrinka, it remains a splendid victory, his first at a Grand Slam tournament. The Spaniard's distress is proportional to the Swiss's joy, and Wawrinka's win comes with another great reward. He'll be ranked 3rd in the ATP ranking on Monday. Even if the circumstances are unusual, Wawrinka did not steal this victory, a player famous for his work ethic. Wawrinka tremendously progressed in the last year, thanks to his coach, Swedish Magnus Norman. He's only the 3rd player to defeat Nadal in the final round of a Grand Slam tournament, and the first to win over both Djokovic, the world's #2 and triple title holder, who he beat in the quarterfinal, and Nadal in the same major. He is the 2nd player to shake the Big Four domination over the last 36 Grand Slam tournaments. 34 were won by Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, or Murray.
And Jonathan, Nadal was injured. Whether it happened before or during the match, that doesn't really matter. Should we credit Wawrinka's win to Nadal's injury?
No, not at all. Not at all. Wawrinka won it, and rightfully so. Danny mentioned the fact that he won. He beat Djokovic in the quarterfinal. I saw that game in the quarterfinal. Djokovic, who is the best player in the world today, played a very, very good game in that quarterfinal, and still Wawrinka won against him. What does that mean about Wawrinka? That at the moment he plays absolutely superb. His tennis is superb, and the fact that he won the #1 and the #2, the 2 players that dominate tennis for the past 2 or 3 years, he won them at the same tournament, and just a couple of days away, he beat both of them. That means that he's a very, very good player, and at the moment, he is the #3. Yes, there's Djokovic, there's Nadal. Right after that, there's Wawrinka. He's the Australian Open, and rightfully so. Yes, Nadal was not at his best. Still, we should credit Wawrinka for everything he did.
Because he played wonderfully, no matter what the injury was. Before, after, Wawrinka really deserves his first Grand Slam title. And moving on to the women's side, Lina taking home the trophy. Was this a surprise?
Not a real surprise, because Lina made it to the Australian Open is her best tournament. She made it to the final in 2011 and 2013, and this year she went one step higher and took the trophy home. She also won the French Open in 2011, so this is not her first Grand Slam. She's a veteran player. She's 31 already, and she has many titles to her name. She has never climbed to the level of Serena Williams, Victoria Azarenka, even Maria Sharapova. But the last few years were very good for her, especially in Australia. So we should not really be surprised by her success.
I guess she likes it down under in Australia, the Australian Open. And Michal, what is the Twitter world saying about these 2 victories?
It's saying a lot, although I have to say, Jonathan, you pretty much covered it all.
I'm sorry. Not going to do it next time. I'm sorry.
So the first tweet is quoting Wawrinka. He said, "I still don't know if I'm dreaming or not, but we'll see tomorrow morning."
Because this is a dream victory for him.
Look, this is a
obviously.
dream
Not only-
victory. It seems he's not really believing it himself. Jonathan said he deserved it, but the injury, this is something we cannot ignore, and a lot of people can't ignore this either. What would happen if there was no injury? No one can really know. Is he being humble? Is he being realistic? It seems like a bit of both, but
the injury doesn't matter. He's going to wake up tomorrow morning. That trophy will still be his.
the trophy will be his, although he's lost 12 previous sets to Nadal, and the 13th time where he won happened to
It's
be
even sweeter.
the Australian Open.
And what are they saying about Lina?
Lina has become kind of the audience sweetheart. All the tweets are completely in favor of her, and this is also credited to her speech. If anyone happened to miss Lina's speech at the presentation ceremony, do please check it out.
And what would she say in that?
What she's saying in her speech, actually, she's hilarious. You know, not only is she a hard worker, this is her third time, and she's really had to work hard and train for years to make it, but she's just really funny. She's thanking her trainer for making her rich. She's thanking her husband.
Having fun with it.
She's having so much fun with it, and
Michal.
I just think that she's a role model because she's taking it with a grain of salt.
Michal, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And we're moving on to football action. And now, as our new weekly tradition, Jonathan, you have the top and the flop from this week in football. What's your top?
Yes, and the Bundesliga came back to action after the winter break, and our top is Bayern Munich, and we should ask, was there a winter break? Because they were phenomenal going into the winter break. They're just as good coming back. Let's remember, they're the German champions, European champions, German cup holders, world champion. If there's a trophy to win, they'll win it. And as it seems, they're going to win the Bundesliga again. They won in Mönchengladbach, a team that's doing very good this year. Bayern Munich comes in, no problem. They win 2-0 away at Mönchengladbach on a rather easy journey to another title in Germany.
And moving on, what is your flop from this week?
Well, the flop, we thought if anyone was going to stop Bayern Munich, it could be Borussia Dortmund, the European runners-up, German runners-up. Well, in the last 6 games, they only took 5 points. At the beginning of the season, they were up there with Bayern Munich, not anymore. They're now 10 points away, and it doesn't seem that they'll be able to do anything this week. Another 2-2 draw at Augsburg, and it doesn't seem Borussia Dortmund has what it takes to stop Bayern Munich or even bother them on the way to the title in Germany.
Well, Jonathan, thank you very much. And now to our sports news in brief. Swiss skier Lara Gott won the World Cup Ladies Super G in Italy, increasing her lead at the top of the standings to 38 points. This is her third Super G win of the season, recording a leading time of 1 minute and 27.81 seconds. And this latest victory increases her stance as the Olympic gold medal favorite. And just a few short weeks before the Winter Olympic Games open in Sochi, Israel finally met the 5 Olympians who will represent them at the Games. It was originally thought that an Israeli delegation would not be present, but instead they have 2 more than in 2010. And for the first time in Israeli history, they will have a duo on the ice. And more winter sports action heading to Aspen, where Kelly Clark won her 12th career X Games medal on Saturday, making her the most decorated female athlete in the history of the X Games. Clark won her 4th consecutive snowboarding halfpipe gold, and she is also a gold medal favorite in Sochi.
Those young ladies there.
About 2,000 protesters showed up for a rally in Sao Paulo on Saturday, a significantly lower number than the 20,000 expected. Brazilians across the country demonstrated in what were mostly peaceful protests against the cost of this summer's World Cup Games. But some clashes with police did occur. The country has spent $14 billion on the tournament when money is needed for schools, hospitals, and roads. And they're saying this is just the first round of protests to come. Jonathan, Danny, we saw these protests begin already last summer, and we're going to be expecting a lot more of these before this summer's tournament.
This is trouble erupted with 2,000 protesters. Only 2,000 protesters. What is going to happen when 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 people show up? It's going to be far, far worse. It's already the second wave of protests. They had the first one last summer during the Confederations Cup. And obviously, when the World Cup does arrive in summer, it's going to be much, much bigger. Brazil has spent a lot of money, not only on the World Cup, but on the Rio Olympics 2 years after that. And the people there live in poverty. Infrastructures are not that good. Price of the cost of living has significantly gone higher. Things that mainly the lower classes use. public transportation, buses. So we'll see much more of that, not only until the summer, until the World Cup, but also all the way until 2016. I think this is a sight we should get used to.
And that was going to be my next question for you. Obviously, Olympics, much grander scale, a lot more people viewing it. It's going to cost a lot more than just the World Cup. Our protests and demonstrations, they're already clashing. How much more violent can they get?
They're going to definitely intensify. People are very upset about this. You know, I'm from Chicago, and the thing is, we didn't want the Olympics to come to our city because the thing is, we knew it would overrun our infrastructure at a time when there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of murders. So the thing is, you could definitely understand the Brazilian people's intensity and their passion behind taking to the streets and trying to stop this. It's not going to be stopped, but they want their voices heard. This money should be spent on them and not on these.
And this is usually a football-crazed country, so it's really shocking to see them saying, we don't want this. We don't want it in our country.
It's on their expense. It's on their expense. And what's far worse, all that money spent and the country is still not ready. We saw a delegation from FIFA, world's governing football body, in Curitiba last week, where the stadium is far from being complete. The World Cup is 4.5 months away. That's just around the corner. The stadium is not ready. And Jerome Falk, the Secretary General of FIFA, he said, listen, if the stadium is not ready on time, and on time is in about a month, if the stadium is not ready on time, we will take the games away from the city. All that money spent and the country is still not ready. And so people are saying, instead of spending it on us, you're spending it on these foreign people that are going to come and then go, and we're not even ready.
From it. And that's a whole nother concern. And Michal, what are people saying about this on the Twitter world?
Well, it is very sad, like you're saying, and there's a kind of a petition going around, a letter to non-Brazilians, if we can take a look. It says, "Dear non-Brazilian friend, please don't come to the Brazil World Cup 2014. It's talking about, in small letters, how the government is corrupt, how the money is being spent like by the billions while their health care isn't doing very well. They're losing infrastructure.
And you think at this point, you know, they've lost so much money, they'd want people to come to make a little bit of it back, to maybe see
Exactly.
it go.
It's not often that people say, don't come to my country, because losing tourism isn't going to have a positive effect either. But they've reached a despair that this is their only tactic.
And what
we
else?
have one more, bringing us to the next one. Glitter of Brazil's World Cup hides inequality, corruption, human rights abuses. Well, if you choose your hosting country based on corruption and inequality, there might not be many options left. This could even bring us back, you know, this could mount to zero if you look back at history. So how are you going to choose your hosting country based on what? You know, I don't think by banning a country, you're actually solving their internal problems, but this is something that should be taken into consideration.
Michal Divon, thank you very much. And we're headed for some American football Super Bowl preparations. In just a week, the NFL's best defense will square off against the league's best offense, and what is turning into possibly one of the best Super Bowl matchups in recent years. Danny, we have the best of each side on the field at the same time. What should we expect?
This is amazing. Super Bowl 48, 1 week away. It's going to be an amazing matchup. The #1 ranked offense, Denver Broncos, led by Peyton Manning, against the #1 defense, the Seattle Seahawks. This is going to be one of those battles of the ages. And the thing is, Seattle has history on their side because they say that 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls between a #1 ranked offense and a #1 ranked defense has ended with the defense prevailing. So the thing is,
they have a really good defense. We're looking at some of these statistics. I mean, they're first in league in opponent passing yards.
their defense is scary good. Listen, their defense, they have shut down everybody all year. They've had some of the most interceptions. They've kept the most points low. The yardage that they've stopped. They're all around really physical, dominant, powerful team. Throwing against them is like putting your hand in the mouth of a wolf.
Is that enough to stop possibly, arguably, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, Peyton Manning?
You obviously love Peyton Manning. I could see it in your eyes. I will say this, Merav. This is not just the #1 ranked offense of the league this year. This could be one of the the #1 offense in history of the game.
This is a record-breaking offense.
55 touchdowns, league record. 5,477 passing yards, league record. 606 points scored by this offense, league record. They are almost unstoppable. So to see this dominance against Seattle's dominance, it's going to be a heck of a battle.
I'm just throwing this in there, those 55 touchdown, Peyton Manning. And very quickly, Sherman, the story of the week.
Sherman has been on all the talk of the town, and he's been on all the Twitter feeds. He ran his mouth a little bit at the end of the game against San Francisco, and he's got a lot of flack for it.
But he's since then apologized and said, listen, I don't want to take away from the amazing play of my team. My quarterback has really gone the distance. My defenders have gone the distance. And he's like, I want to put this behind me. I didn't try to hurt anybody. I was just in the intensity of the game, and I just want to win a Super Bowl now.
And he's one of the greatest cornerbacks, too, so it's going to be a lot of fun keeping an eye on him against Peyton Manning and the Broncos offense. Thank you very much, Danny.
Thank you.
And that's all for us today. For the latest sports news, you can find us online at i24news.tv, our Facebook or our Twitter pages, and you can tweet at us at i24News Sports. We'd love to hear from you. For all of us here on Sports Weekend, I'm Mirav Savir. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you right back here next Sunday.